Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am so excited to be on here today talking about another fabulous book. This is author Dr. Justine Weber, and she is a best-selling author. We did her launch yesterday, so congratulations, Justine.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was a very exciting and successful day. I was high on adrenaline all day yesterday.
Oh, I'm sure.
I just really appreciate everybody who it's so like touching. I felt so loved yesterday and supported and encouraged and just everything. So many people were just reaching out to me, and I just appreciate everybody who purchased the book and was like commenting, any kind of attention to this is just really helpful. So I
Yeah.
do appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is such an important topic. So I kind of jumped in because we were very excited. I'm Cori Wamsley, CEO of Auroracorialis Publishing. And I'm going to let Dr. Justine Weber introduce herself. And then, you can tell me a little bit, or tell everybody a little bit about your book.
Yes, so I'm a clinical psychologist in California. I have my own private practice in Newport Beach, and I launched a coaching business helping women, not just women, actually men too. I do have men clients, but the majority of them are women. Anybody who has left a relationship, but not always. Sometimes I do work with people who are in that kind of should I or shouldn't I state. And I help them heal from narcissistic abuse and recovery. And I kind of hold their hand and guide them through just the whole process of healing to where they come out on the other side feeling so much better and like stronger and a different person. And then my book is kind of a start to finish guide of that too. I kind of go into it would appeal to someone who has maybe just left. And I think the title, I've had mixed reviews, but I love it.
I do too.
I think it kind of describes everything in a nutshell of how someone is feeling when they're in this state where they've just left. This is somebody who has maybe invested, 5, 10, 15, 25 years into a relationship with someone, given their heart, soul, dedication, loyalty, everything. And they're in this state where they're like, wait a minute, I've tried everything to make this work. Yeah. You're telling me that he's not ever changing. And our relationship was probably not even real because he was fake. And you're telling me that I need to change. What the fuck?
Yeah.
People are just kind of at this state like, what? Are you kidding me? Okay, fine. Let's do it. So it's like anger, despair, confusion, frustration, but then they just want to move on. Just so frustrated. Like, I just want to get this over with. I don't want to keep feeling like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that title is so perfect for this book. Can you show everybody the book? Because I don't have any copies with me.
I have a lot. I have a lot of copies.
Yes. Beautiful. How the F do I deal with, or do I heal from this?
Yeah. Isn't it so pretty? So I mean, I just think it's, when I see this, it's like a combination of like anger, frustration, but then with like feminine and just like, let's move on, and I kind of even, the whole split here, it's like past, future, old self and new self. It could be two different brains, trauma healing. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of meanings to it in the beginning.
I think when I first saw that cover, I was thinking about, it looked almost like a crack in the sidewalk. And then, how like little flowers or pieces of grass or whatever will kind of pop up through there. It's like, there's still hope. There's still somewhere we can grow. There's still space, we can still get some light in here. And I felt like that was so perfect for this book. And I wanted to talk to you first about what inspired you to write this book, because this is not an easy topic to tackle. And I know so many people have been through narcissistic abuse.
Sure. So I think it's my thought process really started when I started my social media,
Mhm.
because when I started this coaching business, I really had no idea. I was like, you know what? I am so passionate about this.
Mhm.
And I have such a drive to help inspire and heal women and help them, that if this doesn't do well, it is what it is, I guess. But my social media very quickly kind of exploded.
Yeah.
And so this was giving me information like, wow, people are really needing guidance and help and support. There's such like a drive for it. Like people are seeking help to
Yeah.
understand what this is and how to handle it, and the education piece. So I thought, gosh, what better way of really connecting with a larger group of people than a book. And so I go into just a lot of depth. All of the stories are real stories. And I just thought it would be a much deeper way of connecting with lots of people and really giving them like a guide in their hand, rather than, education is so important. I wish I had all this education and I was going through my stuff.
Yeah.
There is no like, YouTube video on, like what this is or how to handle it or flying monkeys, or, I mean, there was not the education back then, and there were no like divorce coaches or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, education, people always tell me that, a therapist, education, knowledge is really your strength of how to get you out of this. When you understand what something is, then it just kind of gives you a framework of how to handle it. And then there's that piece of like, oh, so this is actually a thing. It's not me. I'm
Yeah.
not crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like a guide that will help anybody with any kind of a question to really, but it really goes deep too. I mean, I start off with like attachment styles
Mhm.
and, upbringing and everything, and how all of that is formed and how that kind of feeds into um as you form relationships later in life, and attachments, connections, all of that. But then at the end, of course, I talk about how to form healthy relationships in life when maybe all you've experienced is dysfunction. How do you do that? What does that
Yeah.
look
Oh my goodness. I imagine that would be really tough for somebody who's been kind of in the trenches, like even as a child, to be able to get yourself out of that. So for people who may be kind of thinking like, I might be dealing with a narcissist, maybe at work, maybe at home, maybe, just somebody I bump into a lot. What are some of the signs they can watch for to kind of identify like, okay, that's what's going on over here?
like? That's a really good question. I think my first thought is lean into yourself. Lean into yourself
Mhm.
from this place of being an observer and noticing and being curious. Ask questions like, how do I feel? Like, whenever I am with this person,
Mhm.
what do I notice about myself? Do you feel agitated? Do you feel frustrated? Do you feel confused? Do you feel angry? Do you feel bad about yourself? Do you feel heavy? I would pay attention to emotions whenever I notice I speak to my boss or whatever, during a meeting or a group.
Yeah.
I notice a consistent pattern that I feel terrible about myself, or I feel stupid, or I feel like I'm always doing something wrong, or I just feel
Yeah.
criticized all the time. So I would almost, a way that you can find your truth and clarity would really, I think, be to start documenting things like in a journal, and try to see if you can find patterns, because that's what all of this is essentially. If it is abuse and toxic, there are going to be patterns for sure. Everybody is entitled to having a bad day and blowing up or saying things that, they shouldn't. But somebody who's truly a narcissist, toxic, abusive,
Mhm.
they're going to have patterns. They're going to have good days, but then the majority bad days, and it's going to fluctuate. And that's what makes all of this so confusing, because it's not 100% bad or cruel. It's like maybe 70%, but
Okay.
then 30% is like nice or, you know, manageable, but
Yeah.
then the rest is like bad. And so that's what makes this so confusing to spot, because you're like, well, but my boss did give me a promotion the other day. I don't know. And he did let me leave early from work. But then today he's railing into me about what a piece of, SHIT I am and how I get everything wrong. I don't understand. He can't be that bad of a boss.
Mhm.
So when you start documenting it and trying to track kind of patterns, pay attention to yourself, how
Mhm.
you feel, emotions, and then pay attention to behavior of the other person.
Those are great tips. Definitely stuff that I think people need to be paying more attention to. I love that it's not like they're definitely doing X, Y, Z. It's more like, how am I feeling about this? And I think that that's ultimately the most important thing too. So do you think that this is something that most people end up dealing with at some point in their lives, or is this more rare?
Maybe it's just my line of work. I don't know. I think it's everybody. I think it's fair to say everybody. Something's in the air. This is just like spreading
Yeah.
like a virus. I mean, this is like an epidemic. I don't know what is going on, but it's like I can't tell you all the people. I mean, even my neighbor, like I'm hosting this gathering at my house for my neighborhood, and I've known our neighbor for a really long time. And so I kind of told her about the book, and I said, yeah, just come over for a glass of wine. And she's like, oh my gosh, I need help. It's my mother-in-law. And she's
Oh,
like, she's getting between our marriage and all of this stuff. And so it is everywhere. I think it's everywhere. It's not just with a romantic partner or
yeah.
an ex. It's in-laws, it's a sister, it's your mother, it's your father, it's
Mhm.
bosses, it's incredibly difficult neighbors that you can't stand to be around, that just creates so much toxicity in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's that one person in a friend group where everyone gets along and everything is great, but this one person just seems to manage to like stir everybody up and just create this toxicity. And so yeah, I do think it's everywhere. I would love to be out of business. That would be a good thing for society. Put me
Yeah.
out of business. But it's just everywhere. Unfortunately, people need these tools.
Yeah. That's tough. And I know I hadn't even really like known what it was until probably like maybe 10 years ago, when I started connecting with people who mentioned like, oh, their ex-husband was narcissistic, or their their mother-in-law, or a boss or something, and they would mention these things, and I was like, maybe I've dealt with this. I don't know. At that point, I thought it was rare, but then the more I've talked to people, and especially people who've been through divorces, I've talked to a lot of people who have gone through this, and it's just, I'm hoping it's not spreading. I'm hoping that the book will help kind of put the fire out here. And as I said before, I liked what you had to say about, kind of the first step for spotting red flags and how you're feeling. So once somebody is kind of identified, like, okay, like once they've kind of identified, I'm pretty sure that I'm dealing with a narcissist. What would be kind of a next step for them?
Once they've identified a narcissist, then, depending on what the relationship is with this person, it's going to kind of vary a little bit to a certain extent. If this is, an ex-husband or something, and you have kids and maybe a business together and going through a divorce, that's going to look very different. But if this is, a mother-in-law, if this is a sister, a sister-in-law, a brother-in-law, a boss,
Mhm.
some of the really kind of quick tools and strategies that can be really helpful. Is it ever going to fix the problem? No, because this will never be fixed.
Right.
But if you use different tools and strategies and have them in place, can it be more helpful to the person? Yes, to kind of detach from it. So first off, they ain't changing. They're not changing, number one.
Mhm.
So stop trying to hope or you know, think that they're going to improve. Everybody needs a second chance. People can change. Like, you know, I believe in God, like, everybody's good. No, not everybody's good. There's a lot of really bad people out there that want to hurt you.
Yeah.
So they ain't changing. Number two, it's not your fault. Anything that they are doing to you, you cannot personalize it. It really is not your fault. You are just simply a target. Narcissists target people.
Yeah.
They use anybody around them as a pawn to do something, to give them something, whether it's validation or, admiration or, or like whatever it is for their ego, for their image. And so don't personalize anything. So if your boss is just exploding at you, how you are such a loser and you get everything wrong and what the F is wrong with you and you're such an idiot and you make all these mistakes, you've been the, worst hire in this company. It's not your fault. He's just actually being who he is, and try to separate out and not personalize that, as painful and as hard as that can be to hear that. And then also try to distance yourself from these people. Don't go into really, conversations with depth. Do not go into your narcissistic boss's office and be like, hey, boss, I feel really disrespected when, you call me these things. I feel like you don't value me as an employee when you say things like that. Nothing's going to change. In fact, he's going to take that information and use it against you, because now you've given him the information that, hey, this hurts me. It makes me reactive and it puts me down. He loves that. So he's going to keep doing it. So don't give them any information. If it's your mother-in-law, if it's your neighbor, somebody in the friend group, never confront them with the issues. Never tell them why they hurt you or why what they're doing is wrong or abusive, because they will not change and you are giving them ammo to come at you even worse. So you just kind of have to adjust your expectations with this relationship. If it's a mother-in-law, this relationship will never be a relationship with depth and deep connection. You're going to have to distance yourself. If it's a daughter-in-law, I have, that happens quite often actually, where it's like a parent with a son and he marries someone who's a narcissist. And these narcissists really, so I didn't really understand narcissism either myself, and I'm a shrink, and my mother's a narcissist, but I really did not understand what it was until I went through all of my pain and suffering and trauma. And the thing that really, I find most with such clarity is that narcissism destroys. It really does. It destroys lives. It destroys hearts. It destroys minds. It destroys families. It destroys businesses, companies, friend groups, neighborhoods. This is what it destroys. These relationships and these connections. And so if you have a son whose wife is a really toxic, like narcissist, you're going to have to adjust your expectations with this dynamic and just put a smile on your face, do what she asks. If she's trying to use the kids to control you, you can't do anything about it. Keep things surfacing, talk about the weather, presents for Christmas, but don't ever try to resolve anything in the relationship, because it will never get resolved. You will only suffer worse.
That's really good advice. Thank you. And I know earlier we had mentioned that, people who've been through these sort of situations could really benefit from this book, obviously. But who else do you think would benefit from this book? Because I think that anybody who could possibly run into a narcissist should really have some ammo ready.
Yes. I mean, I think really everybody, even if you haven't directly encountered one yet, it could happen. And then also other people in your life, like I mentioned earlier in this, I was at my chiropractor's office and I was just talking to, the tech, and, because I'm friends with him, and we were talking about my book because, I've known him for years. And I'm like, have you ever encountered somebody like this? And he's like, I haven't. I've actually never. I feel kind of fortunate. Even all my ex-girlfriends, they've actually been fine. And he said, but I must say, one of my really good friends has a girlfriend who sounds like this. And he's like, I don't even know what to say. And so I think, having these tools and this guide can be so helpful and give you insight
Mhm.
and clarity, and will actually bring you strength in knowing how to handle really difficult situations like this with people that you love that are around you. I mean, it could be maybe your sister, who, is going through something like this or something, or a really good friend where you just don't actually know how to be supportive, and you're needing some help with, like, hey, what can I say? Like, for example, never tell someone, why don't you just leave?
Mhm.
Why don't you just break up? Do not ever tell someone, why didn't you leave sooner? Well, like, what's wrong with you? You're telling me all this bad behavior. Like, why, he's so abusive. Why didn't you leave sooner? That is a terrible thing to say to somebody,
Yeah.
and makes them, it's like more trauma, because
Oh,
they don't
sure.
need to hear that. I mean, trust me, they've already, if it was an option, they would have already.
Yeah.
And so really, how can you be supportive in a helpful way to act as a sounding board
Mhm.
to someone in your life that you love, that is maybe going through something like this? Like, how can you be supportive of them?
Mhm.
Be there for them, listen to them. I am so sorry you're going through this. Yeah, this sounds really bad. I agree with you. What
Yeah.
can I do to help? I'm here for you. I am so sorry. You deserve better. Just really this empathic listening and compassion,
Mhm.
not trying to problem solve. Don't
Yeah.
try to problem solve. Just almost be like a therapist. That's kind of what I
Okay.
do. I don't tell people what to do. I'm just like, what is that like for you? Tell me about it. That's, it sounds terrible. My gosh, I'm here for you. I
Mhm.
love you. It can be really powerful for a victim who is going through something like that,
Yeah.
of that sounding board and support and love. That's actually something that can be helpful to kind of separate out truth and reality.
Yeah.
Gaslit for so long.
Yeah, I imagine someone in that situation would feel really torn down, and it's probably very helpful to have a friend or, family member who is able to just be there to listen and provide support and help kind of build them up until they're ready to take whatever steps they need to take.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So this was so wonderful, Justine. You gave so many good tips for people. And I love the book. I think it's phenomenal. And I'm so excited that we just launched it yesterday and it hit #1. But as kind of a special thing, I'm leaving the price at 99 cents for the ebook today only. It was just supposed to be yesterday, but because it did so well, we went ahead and left it at 99 cents. So today, December 8th, 2023, if you're watching this later, you've missed out. But if you go to Amazon today, you can still get the ebook for 99 cents. The paperback is available. This would make a fantastic Christmas gift for basically everyone you know. So
Stocking stuffer for sure. It
yes.
fits. I've tried it already.
There you go. And it's perfect to throw in your purse, to throw a couple in your car and give those to people who need them. So if you want to go to Amazon and get it, you can. Barnes and Noble also has it, and both ebook and paper.
I've got some book signings at Barnes and Noble coming up in different states. So yeah, I'm excited. Yay.
Yeah, that will be wonderful. Yeah, so you can also get them if you go see Justine. Thank you for joining me today. Where can people connect with you online?
Yes, so I have 2 websites, my private practice, but I can't see anybody outside of California.
Okay.
It's Dr. Justine Weber at Serene Shift. Serene is in calm, SERENE, and then SHIFT.com.
I'll have to put the comment below.
I'm like, wait, is that too many E's? And then my coaching is drjustineweber.com, and it's with 1 B. I'm on all the social media platforms. I have this wonderful company that runs it, and they are just so on top of it. But I'm on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, right? Is that it? Yeah.
I think
So
so. Awesome. Yeah, we'll have to put all your stuff below so everybody can join you and get lots of good information about narcissistic abuse and healing. So thank you again for being on. And if anybody has comments or questions, make sure you comment below. We're happy to hop on and answer them. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Corey.